Wonderful. Good morning, and thank you for joining us here today. My name is Demishi Pai, and I'm the Community Impact Coordinator for Tacoma Venues and Events, also known as TVE. My role is to help create and cultivate partnerships with local nonprofits, schools, colleges, universities, neighborhood associations, tribal members, and other civic leaders. I also support community engagement at City of Tacoma's produced events, such as the annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebration and City of Destiny Awards. These partnerships and programs are centered around TVE's values: safety first, legendary experiences, one crew built on trust, create and innovate, and inclusion matters. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering, who is TVE and why did they create this SkillShop series? Tacoma Venue and Events manages the City of Tacoma venues. These venues include the Tacoma Dome, the Greater Tacoma Convention Center, Cheney Stadium, and the historic Pantages and Rialto theaters and theaters on the square. The department also includes City of Tacoma's Special Events Office. Now, the intention behind the SkillShop series is to engage and uplift the community event planners while providing resources and reducing barriers. As the Community Impact Coordinator, this work is extremely important in order to strengthen event equity and access. Some of our upcoming SkillShops will include funding and grant writing, equity and access, emergency management, just to name a few, which I'm very excited for. Today, our SkillShop will focus on event permitting in Tacoma, and our distinguished panelists include Ms. Ashley Young, Tacoma Venues and Events, Sergeant Jason Mills, Tacoma Police Department, Ricky Klausing, City of Tacoma Public Works, Traffic Engineering, Luis Fergoso, City of Tacoma Risk Management, Lieutenant Vicente Robles, Tacoma Fire Department, Jesse Wild Swinderman, City of Tacoma Tax and License, Amanda Peters, Tacoma Pierce County Health Department, Sarah Worley, Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board, Carson Brock, City of Tacoma Environmental Services, Leah Michelson, City of Tacoma Environmental Services. Just a few housekeeping rules before I introduce the first panelist. Like I said in the beginning, this session will be recorded. All attendees will be muted. During the SkillShop, please feel free to put your questions in the chat. We will have someone watching that as well. We are fortunate enough to have time for a question and answer at the end, and resources will be posted on our website after the SkillShop. Everyone will also have the opportunity to provide feedback and suggestions for future SkillShops in an after-event survey. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our first panelist, Ms. Ashley Young.
Thank you so much, Demishi, and thanks for having us here today. My name is Ashley Young. I work for the City of Tacoma in the Tacoma Venues and Events Department, and I am the Special Event Coordinator. I oversee the Special Event Office, which handles all of the special event and film permits for the city. Special event permits allow for the use of public right-of-way in events such as a market or parade. Film permits allow for filming motion pictures in Tacoma outside of private use, studios, media coverage, police work, or charitable purposes. In addition, I oversee the council-approved City Events and Recognitions Committee, who serves as an advisory and action committee on matters pertaining to hosted events for the city and recognition programs. They also oversee our special event funding program and our event city services program that we'll be launching in 2025. Next slide, please. So some of the frequently asked questions that I get is, when will I know if I can move forward with planning my event? So you've submitted your permit, You've uploaded documents, you've filled out information, what next? First thing that happens is I go into Acela, which is the program that you submit your permits for, and I receive all of your information. We call it the intake process. That means I'm seeing what time your event is, what documents you've provided me, and what documents are still missing. From there, I email directly to the event organizer that's in the contacts and say, this is what I have, and this is what is missing. From there, you will need to provide me with documents if you have not already, such as your traffic control plan, your site map, insurance. And you and I will be in constant communication with each other over if you have those or if there's any issues. From there, I also submit it for review. So the traffic control plan goes to our engineering department, insurance goes to risk, and they do a review. Sometimes it's a matter of no news is good news when they're going through the review process, because you're in a queue of potentially dozens, if not multiple dozens and dozens of pending permits. If there is an issue, I will email you right away and we'll address it together. If there's not an issue, we will be moving forward with the review process, and then you are in a queue in chronological order. The next question I get is, how much do permits cost? Oh, sorry, to finish that, your permit will likely be approved between 15 to 3 days prior to your event. Obviously, we don't want you waiting that long to start planning your event. So if you're not hearing from me, it's probably safe to say that you can continue moving forward. And if you do hear from me, we'll work together on what the issue is and how we can work it out. How much do permits cost? Well, there's typically a lot of different types of permits and licenses that you need for a special event. Not just the city's special event permit, but also you're looking at fire department, health department, liquor and cannabis. For the special event permits specifically, it can range between $50 to $75 at your base cost, depending on if it's a nonprofit, neighborhood, or commercial event. From there, if there are late permit fees, which is a 5% increase to the permit. So like $55 for a $50 one and $82 somewhat for the other one. Other costs could include things such as parking if you're using public parking, or mail distribution if you're requesting that the city distributes your information for public notice. How do I apply for a special permit and what is required? You apply through a special event permit in Acela. That's the city's permitting website. You typically are required to have a traffic control plan, a site map with your intended use of the right-of-way, and then other things that are required later are things like insurance and payment of fees. What do special events permits allow for? It allows for you to use the public right-of-way for your event. The public right-of-way would include the sidewalk, the street, the medians, or city-owned park or plaza. This is not required if you are doing an event on private property, just on the city of Tacoma's property. And some other requirements for hosting a special event. Again, you're going to want to check with the health department, the fire department, liquor and cannabis board. You're also going to want to make sure you're working with our tax and licensing department on things like business licenses for your vendors. And you're going to want to work with PD on your traffic control or police needs for your road closure. And then you're going to hear from a list of all kinds of great people today to talk about what they will require. And it's kind of the whole reason why Demishi brought us together here. So unless there's any other questions, that's kind of the long and short of what a special event permit is and what my role in producing it is. You can help use me as a go-to for any questions. I often serve as the communication piece between some of our other departments or agencies. So don't be afraid to go to me or CC me on anything, or just call me for general questions. I try to be as available and accessible as I can, although it is summer season, so you can expect some delays on emails and phone calls at the moment. But I try to be as available as I possibly can so we can move forward. Are there any additional questions? Demisha, you're muted.
There we go. Thank you so much. We are going to save questions to the end. So keep putting those questions into the chat. And I am going to turn it over to Sergeant Jason Mills.
All right, good morning. Jason Mills, Tacoma Police Department. I've been here for about 19 years, done a lot of different various tasks and assignments while I've been here, mostly patrol, community liaison officer, been special events sergeant for about 2 years now. And in addition to all the other aspects of the job, one of the aspects is working with Metro Parks and City of Tacoma on their permitting processes. It's a large group that we have gathered here together today to try to assist you in this. And I guess one of the things, piggybacking off of what Ashley said is this isn't our only job. This is just a portion of our job. So if we're a little slow in getting back to you, it's not because we don't care. It's probably because we have other fires to put out in addition to getting to you. But we are here to see what we can do to help each other and to keep the events moving forward in the city of Tacoma. So thanks for being here. Just a few of the questions that we get, kind of the basics for getting started. Do I have to have Tacoma Police Department at my event? And I know it depends is never a great answer to hear, but events come in all, shapes, sizes, functions, a lot of different aspects and variations to events. So it depends is really the best answer I can give you. Certainly a good rule of thumb is if you're going to be on a city arterial, any intersection, things like that, you're probably going to need the police department there. Tolleson Plaza, there's some city parks, places like that. You're not going to need us there, especially for smaller events. Thinking National Night Out, 1 block closures, not going to have police officers there. We're always there for you if you feel that you do need a little extra security and safety at your events. But that when we're looking at these events for the police department, we just want to keep everybody as safe as we can, keep these events open and free to the public so everybody can come and enjoy them. A lot of in between, your small block party for National Night Out or an event off of city streets to your larger events that are taking up multiple city blocks and multiple arterials. So a lot of in between in there that you can kind of look at and say, well, do I need them? Do I not need them? A lot of that is going to come down to our group's best guess on what the impact is going to be to the community, how we can keep traffic moving around the event safely. If there's alcohol served at the function, that definitely adds some variations there. And then what type of event is it, right? Is it a small community gathering? Is it a large neighborhood block party with, multiple thousands of people there, few, beer gardens, things like that. A lot of different variations there that can increase the need to have a little bit more security and safety on hand. How expensive it is it to hire the Tacoma Police Department? Unfortunately, it's not cheap. A lot of supply and demand going into that at this point in time. Rule of thumb is around $125 an hour. That doesn't mean I can always staff those, especially on the holidays. Summertime gets a little busier than most times. But we do our best to make sure that events are able to go forward. I'd like, if you can give me probably a month warning is best. I try to let our officers know about 3 weeks ahead of time before the event. Gives 2 weeks for everybody to look at it, to know when if they're available, if they want to work the event, what other family obligations they might have. Close it out about a week before and gives me some scramble time to figure out other opportunities we can to have your event still go forward. How do you go about if you do feel you need the Tacoma Police Department there? We might be strongly encouraging you at our monthly meetings where we're having you present, or when you start the permit process, to say, hey, this is something you're going to probably want to consider. That might be one of the ways. Certainly shoot me an email or give me a phone call. Email is preferable. That way I can address it when I can. Sometimes phone calls a little bit harder to remember exactly what was said, but email is definitely the best medium. Like I said, if you can give me some warning, helps out a lot. And Ashley can definitely facilitate that if you can't find my email address any other way. Other options besides having the police department there, security is an option. We do prefer unarmed security. If you're going to go with armed security, in my opinion, might as well have the police department there at that point in time. Other agencies are around and they can help and assist. We do request the Tacoma Police Department has the first right to go and assist in these events. It's just best practice. It's what we do in our region, in our area. Give that agency that has that jurisdiction first right of refusal. If I can't staff an event with Tacoma Police Department, I can reach out to outside agencies. I've got a large group of contacts that are willing to help out. We help them, they help us, so we can try to make sure your event goes forward. That's about, and it never ends.
Thank
Sorry.
you so much,
Okay, I
Sergeant
think
Mills.
that's probably all I got.
We have received a few emails and texts regarding the Q&A feature. So go ahead and pop your questions into the Q&A. Let's see. Miss Ashley?
Instead of the chat, you cannot use the chat feature is correct. You need to use the Q&A feature in order to
Okay.
ask questions. Thank you.
All right, just wanted to confirm that. Thank you so much, Ashley. Next, we will have Ricky Klausing.
Good morning. My name is Ricky Klausing, pronouns are he, him. I am with the City of Tacoma's Public Works, Transportation, Planning, and Permitting Group. And I work alongside a handful of internal staff to help maintain safety for special events and to help event coordinators have successful events that they plan. I believe there are a couple questions I will go through. Any additional ones, feel free to include in the chat. And then if there's a chance, we'll do my best to go through those. And just kind of starting out by talking about what is public right-of-way. That's essentially the areas in between private properties. According to Tacoma Municipal Code 8.30.20, public right-of-way includes the area of land, including the traveled portion of public streets and alleys, as well as the bordering areas, which includes, but not limited to, any sidewalks, planting strips, traffic circles, or medians. In order to identify which areas of public right-of-way might be impacted during a special event, the City of Tacoma has created a web-based mapping application that consolidates key geographic data sets and maps for the public to use easily. It can be difficult sometimes when planning an event to know where the right-of-way begins and where it ends. So this map is a great resource to locate and look around at a possible event, or maybe an event that has happened in the past. If there's a footprint that is looking to expand, that can kind of start framing the sort of requirements that might be in place for the event. The DART map, which stands for Development Assistant Review Team, can identify parcel boundaries, street classifications, speed limits, bus stops, bus routes, council district boundaries, neighborhood business districts, and aerial photos, among other key data sets. This is a tremendously valuable tool that I encourage everybody to use and can be found on the City of Tacoma's permitting portal at tacomapermits.org. And then what signs or barricades are required for a special event? Oh, I got my questions out of order, sorry. I'm gonna jump to why is a traffic control plan important? So a traffic control plan is important to essentially to ensure the safety of event participants, as well as all other vehicular and pedestrian traffic around the event. When a special event is held within the City of Tacoma right-of-way, an approved traffic control plan is required. This is different for events that are held on Metro Parks property, for example. Any impact to the public right-of-way will require a TCP. The objective of a traffic control plan is to maintain a safe event and keep both traffic and pedestrians moving safely around the event. Attention must be given to all users of the right-of-way, vehicular, bicycle, and pedestrian traffic, and most importantly, ADA considerations as well. The TCP must be submitted with the event application and approved in order for the event to take place. Our traffic engineering office works alongside TPD, street operations, Pierce Transit, and Tacoma Venues and Events to coordinate what specific mitigation will be required for the event. And then a popular question that comes up often is what signs or barricades are required? And this is a difficult one to have a simple answer, but the required signs, barricades, or safety devices required depend on the location and impact of the special event. Activating a street that requires a road closure, for example, will have advanced warning signs, so road closed ahead, road closed signs, and possible detour routes. Type 2 and or Type 3 barricades. No parking signs if the on-street parking is impacted, which must be placed at least 48 hours in advance, and sometimes meridian vehicle barriers in higher traffic areas. Each special event will require a site-specific TCP that addresses all of the anticipated impacts to the public right-of-way. Our special event coordinator typically facilitates the conversation around the traffic control plan requirements and works with internal staff to ensure the success of all special events. What is the difference between an arterial and a non-arterial road? Our transportation network has numerous street classifications that are determined by the volumes of vehicular traffic. Naturally, busier roads can be dangerous and will require certain mitigation that is not required on other streets. There's a list of different classifications for arterials, a principal arterial, a minor arterial, and a handful of other ones. But the main thing for special events will be if it's an arterial road or non-arterial road. Specific considerations must be made when an arterial street is closed. In addition to the required barricades and safety devices that must be in place, traffic must be detoured around the event using only other arterial streets. No neighborhood or special event is the same, so that consideration has to be made for each event. For example, certain neighborhoods have arterial access to in and out of neighborhoods for emergency vehicles, where other neighborhoods are restricted and only have maybe 2 arterial streets. So closing one down or 2 down for a special event or a run or a parade can have a significant impact on the public that is not attending the event. So those considerations must be made. Also, these routes typically include bus stops. So coordination with Pierce Transit is also necessary to ensure that the bus stops can be relocated for transit users. Non-arterial streets that are activated for block parties or other events will have significantly less requirements and are much easier to plan and coordinate for. In recent years, we have worked with neighborhood business districts, event coordinators, and residents to try to reduce the logistical and cost barriers that are associated with special events. In addition, some of our neighborhood business districts have what is called a festival street or have a festival street planned in our master transportation plan that makes it easier and simpler for neighborhood business districts and or residents to activate these spaces. And those are my FAQs. And like I said, if there are any other questions that come up, I would be happy to touch on those as well.
I appreciate you, Ricky. Thank you so much. And now we will hear from Luis Fergoso.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Luis Fragoso. I am the risk manager for the city of Tacoma. Among other things, the risk management division is responsible for procuring insurance coverage for most city departments and also for reviewing city contracts to ensure insurance requirements are appropriate for the scope of work being done. The risk management division works closely with Tacoma venues and events to ensure that the event organizer general liability insurance policy complies with the requirements set forth by the Tacoma Municipal Code under Chapter 11.15, which is titled Special Events Permitting Code. And next slide, please. Some of the questions we frequently receive are the following. Why is general liability insurance required for special events? And this is actually a statutory requirement. So Tacoma Municipal Code 11.15.160 subsection A requires the event organizer of a special event to have or obtain a general liability insurance policy to protect the city of Tacoma against claims and losses arising from the special event. The general liability policy must provide limits of at least $1 million, but in some cases, higher limits may be required based on the risk and type of event or potential liability to the city. For example, if you use drones for your special event, you will need an endorsement to your policy, and that's usually a document that changes the policy that provides coverage while those drones are being operated. Second question, can insurance requirements be waived for my special event? I am going to borrow Sergeant Mills' answer, which is it depends. Insurance requirements cannot be waived if the sale of alcoholic beverages is authorized or traffic control permits are issued. And there are more details under the TMC, the Tacoma Municipal Code, Chapter 11.15.170. The insurance requirements may be waived in some cases if the event is primarily for the purpose of constitutionally protected activity. And again, this is all under Chapter 11.15. This would be subsection 220. But even if the insurance is waived, the city may require the event organizer to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless the city of Tacoma from claims and losses arising from the special event. So when you submit your application, there will be language that states that, and you are responsible for any claims or damages arising as a result of this special event. Third question is, when should I submit my proof of insurance? Proof of valid general liability insurance coverage must be filed at least 1 month before the special event. And you may want to start a process sooner than that to avoid any potential delays or even the denial of your permit. We have a small division, and there are only 2 of us who handle this particular task. So if you give us enough advance notice, we can do a much better job for you and a timely review of the insurance requirements. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we are going to hear from Lieutenant Vicente Robles.
All right, you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'm Lieutenant Robles with Tacoma Fire Department, working the Tacoma Fire Prevention Bureau, fire investigator, and / work with collecting special events applications and distribute them to our on-shift inspectors who show up to the events to inspect it for safety. And then we had some questions. Frequently asked questions. Number 1, where can you obtain your permits needed by the Tacoma Fire Department for the event? So several ways you can do this. Number 1, you can go to our Tacoma Fire website and you scroll down to the bottom and go to the quick links. that'll take you to the permits. But when you get there, it might be kind of hard to find them because there's 3 different spots. One spot would be, it would say assembly, and this is going to have your outdoor booths and your indoor booths. Another selection would be special assembly permits, and then you have your firework permits. We're going to try to work on to get this all in just one location to make it less confusing. If that fails and you're having problems getting them, you can email us at tfdseo@cityoftacoma.org. And that's kind of our email for special events where somebody will get your email. We can send you the right permits. Lastly, if you're still having problems, you can give our office a call at 253-591-5740. We ask that you fill out these permits and send them back 30 days in advance so we can do all the paperwork to get the permits ready for you. Next question, billing process. So a couple key points about billing. When you go onto our website, the price of the permit is next to the permit that you're clicking on. Most of the permits are $315, but then you have some that have formulas, such as if you have a bunch of outdoor booths like a Proctor Market, and it goes by how many you have. So for an example, if I have 1 to 10, it would be $79, and then it goes up from there. Some ways to save some money: if you're a 501c nonprofit, if you send us that form, that waives most of the fees. It's not going to waive all the fees, but most of them. If you are an event that's going to be doing multiple days, so say for the summer you have a market and you're going to meet every Saturday, then we ask that you put all the dates that you're going to meet, and then you only need 1 permit, and you're only going to be charged once for the permit for the duration of your event. So if your event is 4 months long, that 1 permit is going to cover those 4 months. So you're not going to get charged every single time you have your event. You can pay your bill. As far as paying your bill, we have an automated system at 253-534-8486. It's an automated system, pay by credit card. I was informed though, if you need a receipt, that you cannot get a receipt from the automated system. So if you need a receipt, then you'll want to call our office at 253-591-5740 and speak to our receptionist, and they'll be able to take the payment by credit card over the phone and get you a receipt. Last way to do it is if you go to the City of Tacoma website and go to the very bottom, and there is a link to pay bills. I don't know if you can get a receipt that way, but that's another way to look at it. Third question, types of permits. I'll hit over a couple of the permits and kind of things that we look for, and a lot of times that we find problems with. First one would be outdoor cooking and open flame permit. If you are cooking with, say, propane, the propane is good for 12 years. And then you have to have it recertified by a company that can recertify propane tanks. They have to be recertified after the initial 12 years, every 5 years. And on the 25th year, you need a new propane tank. So they're only good for 25 years. We ask that food trucks have their suppression systems and their hood systems cleaned at least once a year. Anyone cooking, whether it be a food truck or a 10x10 outdoor booth, you need a 2A 10BC fire extinguisher. And if you have grease, you need a Class K extinguisher for grease fires. Next permit, indoor and outdoor booths. We ask that if you're doing like a market where you have booths on both sides of the streets, they have 20 feet of space in between, so that a fire engine or ladder engine can get through in between if we need to get to a certain emergency. We ask that the 10 by 10 pop-up tents have 15 pounds of weights on all 4 legs, not just 2. It has to be on all 4, 15 pounds, so that in case we get a gust of wind, it doesn't blow the tent away. You have your open flame permits. That would be, say, if you have a fire dancer. If you have a fire dancer, we have to be at the event for the entire fire dance show. So that's one of the permits. Temporary special events permit. That is if you're going to have over 100 people at one time in a place that is not designed for assembly. So if your event is in a school gymnasium, that's designed for assembly, so you wouldn't need that. But if we're going to a place that's not designed for that, then you're going to need it. Tent permits. If your tent is over 400 square feet and it's enclosed, so it has enclosures on each end, then you need a tent permit. If it's just like a large canopy, open-sided tent, then it's 700 square feet. And then for your pop-up tents, your 10 by 10s, you can have 7 side by side, and then you need a 12-foot break in between, and then you can do 7 more. Otherwise, if you're not going to do that, then you have to have a tent permit. As far as when you'll receive your permits, the process that we do is usually at most events, we show up, have an inspector show up 30 minutes before the event. They look through the whole event for fire and safety, and we meet with the person in charge and we hand the permits to that person. If we have anything that needs to be looked at and fixed at that time, we work together with the event coordinator to accomplish the task that needs to be done. And that would be all my questions.
Thank you, Vicente. And just as a reminder, these resources will be made available after the SkillShop session. So the information that Lieutenant Robles was giving will be made available to you. Next up, we have Jesse Wild Swinderman. Jesse, take it away.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Nishi. My name is Jessie, and my pronouns are she, her, and I've been with the city for 27 years. The compliance officer position is one of primarily education, but sometimes when that doesn't work, it's also enforcement. So I do both sides of that. And you can reach me for any questions regarding.
Hey, Jesse, I'm so sorry to stop you. We cannot understand anything that's being said.
Oh, no.
We can hear that you're talking. It just sounds like you're really far away.
Maybe if I scoot closer, can you hear me now? Better?
It's a little bit better.
Oh, sorry. That's the
See,
only.
when you said, that was great. So just with that oomph.
Okay, I will talk louder if that helps. All right, good. So if anybody has any questions, they can contact me directly. I'm at 253-591-5246, and I'm happy to answer any tax and license questions you might have. So frequently asked questions for me is do I need a business license? And it kind of really depends on who's asking. Any person engaged in business in the city of Tacoma, if you live outside the city limits and you're coming in, if you're going to earn less than $2,000 a year, you don't need a business license. Or if you're a farmer that sells things that other people eat, you don't need a business license. And lastly, if you are a vendor participating in a multiple vendor event, then you don't need a business license either. So I'm going to focus on temporary events. A promoter or host of an event will need a business license unless they fall under that $2,000 outside the city limits exemption. We highly recommend that if your event has multiple vendors, that you get a temporary event license. And this is basically a business license for one day. The cost is $5 per vendor per day. And the license fee is collected by the promoter and turned in with an application no less than 3 days prior to the event. This temporary event license saves each individual booth participant from having to get their own business license. And the second option, which sometimes we see, is that they just require everybody to get their business license, but it's really unnecessary and it's expensive for each vendor if you do it that way. The vendor application lists the total number of vendors, and then you minus out the vendors who, one, already have a City of Tacoma business license, plus any exempt farmers or folks distributing literature. Those are your religious organizations or vendors soliciting for volunteers, such as political parties or Rose Clubs. Anyone from outside the city limits of Tacoma making less than $2,000 a year. And then you end up paying for the vendors that are left over. Those are your $5 per day vendors. And for specifics, you can look up Tacoma Municipal Code 6B230. There is also a requirement for the promoter to list all of their vendors. That requires the vendor name, the business address, and phone numbers, and general descriptions of the goods and services offered, because sometimes a compliance officer will go to your event and do a check on your event to make sure that all of those vendors are licensed. So you want to make sure that they're on your list, regardless of whether you're paying the $5 or not. Now, there's another kind of license, and that is an entertainment license. Events open to the public that will have alcohol and or live entertainment, including dancing, will need to meet other city licensing requirements. And applications for those type of events are required at least 15 days prior to the event. So visit our website at cityoftacoma.org/tax and license for more information, or contact Tax and License at 253-591-5252 to discuss your event to ensure you meet all of the requirements. And so the next frequently asked question I get is, how fast can I get a business license? And you can get a business license in one day, but it takes 3 days to get a multiple vendors license. And it takes 15 days to get like a beer garden / live music type of license. You must have a business license before you can get a multiple vendor license or an entertainment license. And you must have a state license before you can get a city license. So just keep that in mind. The next frequently asked question that I get is, do I have to pay tax? And the City of Tacoma does have a B&O tax once you go over the threshold of $250,000. Revenue from the B&O tax is deposited into the city's general fund, which funds the basic city services such as police, fire, libraries, and streets. And for vendors that participate in a multiple vendor license, they're not required to file a tax return. For promoters that charge an admissions fee, there is a $5 admissions tax. Admission tax is often overlooked by business owners, resulting in significant penalties. So it's in your best interest to educate yourself and your staff on these requirements. An admissions tax is paid by the customer to be held in trust to the person or promoter collecting the admissions charges and paid to the city. Ultimately, you as the business owner or promoter are responsible for payment to the city, even if the admissions tax is not collected. So for more information about admissions tax specifically, refer to the Tacoma Municipal Code 6A.20.030 prior to your event. And I will be happy to answer any questions regarding those 3 items at the end of our presentation.
Thank you, Jessie. Some great information we have. I really appreciate everyone being here and staying alert. And next we are going to hear from Amanda Peters.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Peters, and I work with the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department. I oversee permitting for temporary food permits for farmers markets and temporary events, or any event that is open to the public within Pierce County. Frequently asked questions. So who is required to get a temporary food establishment permit? Anytime you sell, sample, or give away food to the public, a permit is required. This can be a nonprofit doing a fundraiser, or it can be a business doing a for-profit business. The food code does not take into consideration whether it's for-profit or not. It just has to do with food to the public. How far in advance do you need to submit your paperwork? Well, if you want to avoid a late fee, you'll have to submit your application at least 14 days before the event date. You can submit it months in advance if you'd like, but at least 14 days before to avoid a late fee. You can submit applications in our office up until the day before an event, but you will pay more. And it's always better to get them in sooner because that definitely helps with planning. You can apply for your food permit in person at our office. We are open from Monday through Friday from 8 to 4. You can apply online on our website. However, to apply online, there does need to be at least 3 business days before the event. We had to do that so that people couldn't go, hours before the event to apply for a permit when nobody was in the office. So if it's less than 3 days before your event, you will have to come into the office and apply in person. We do still take applications via mail as well, and the late fee is based on the postmark date. So as long as it is postmarked 14 days before the event, then there is no late fee. The best way to reach out to us is to call or to email. We have a temp event line that I answer that rings through to my desk, 253-649-1703. You can also email us. We have anybody can come into the office and get a free consultation. We do have staff available that can answer questions anytime during the day, except from 12 to 1 when we are at lunch. One of the other things to really consider is that as an organizer, the prior planning for your event is key because your vendors need at least 14 days to apply for their permit to avoid a late fee. So the best event planning for a coordinator is to reach out to me and to provide me with a vendor list at least 3 to 4 weeks before the event. If you send me a list with email addresses, I can then email a reminder out to all of your food vendors on how to apply for a permit and with the link so that they have ample time to apply before there's a late fee. The hardest thing on a vendor is not realizing that they need a permit. And if I find out about the event 2 days before the event, then they are scrambling to get their permit, to get everything they need to be in compliance, and they're going to pay that additional late fee for submitting a late application. Here at the health department, my job is to help event coordinators and the vendors be set up for success. So the sooner you reach out about an event you're planning, the better. One of the biggest things that we see confusion are when it comes for food is any food to the public cannot be made at home. So if you are planning an event, you are going to need to make the food on site or get a commissary kitchen that you can use to prepare the food. The commissary kitchen can be anything from if you have a friend that owns a restaurant, or if your church has a kitchen, or there are commissary kitchens for rent. It just has to be able to meet the needs of the food you are preparing. But if in doubt, if you're not sure if you need a permit, please just reach out to us. I'm happy to answer any questions. The biggest thing we can do is set the vendors up for success. So if you are planning an event and you are dealing with vendors, especially if they've never operated before, having in your vendor packet if you're selling food or sampling or giving food away that you need to reach out to us to get a permit is key. Usually when vendors are regular vendors, they know to get the permit, but it's those first time businesses that just don't know the processes yet that are going to be taken aback if they don't know they need to get the permit or the cost of the permit. Cost of the permits range anywhere from $76 to $284, depending upon what the food is. They are based on risk category. And so any type of food at an event, whether it's sold, sampled, or given away, does require a permit from the health department.
Wow, thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
And now we will hear from Sarah Worley.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Sarah Worley, and I'm a customer service supervisor. And I have been in the customer service supervisor position for about 2.5 years, but with the Liquor and Cannabis Board for just over 9. A big thing we do in customer service is this special occasion license, which allows bona fide nonprofit organizations to sell liquor at a specific time, date, and place. Next slide, please. How long does it take us to process the application? We request that you submit your application within 45 to 60 days of your event. That just remember it has to be mailed. So it does go through our finance department before us and customer service gets it. We do have about 4 people in customer service that works it. And we do have a lot of them coming. We're already over 2,000 so far this year. And that's just in the first 5 months of the year. And so just keep in mind, making sure to fill it out completely and sending that in time. We do have to send out a local authority notice, which gives the city or county the ability to take a look at your event, and they have 20 days to get it back to us to respond. And so also keeping that in mind. Where you can purchase your alcohol from your event. You can purchase your alcohol from a licensed distributor, manufacturer, such a winery, brewery, or distillery. You can also purchase it from a retailer, but you'd be purchasing it at retail cost. You can also get alcohol donated to you from a winery, brewery, or distillery, or spirits from a spirits retailer if your organization is registered as a 501c3 or 501c6 with IRS, and we will request that IRS letter or make sure we're looking that up. Do remember that donated alcohol still needs to be sold at wholesale cost or above, and can't be given away for your charge or as a gift. And also to remember that if you're doing an auction, trays of drinks cannot be donated for an auction or a sale. Can you have the event of a special occasion license at a liquor license premises? Yes, you can. A nonprofit can have an event at a liquor license premises that isn't already owned by their nonprofit. Also keep in mind that the licensed premises would also have to cease serving alcohol during that time. We do often have a lot where it's a hotel and they're doing it in like a banquet room. And so we're just making sure there's no alcohol from that hotel in that area. There is a section on the application that has to be signed by somebody from the liquor license premises, and making sure that they understand that part of not serving alcohol, as we can't have 2 licenses in one location. Can a nonprofit organization partner with a promoter and allow a promoter to sell tickets for the event that includes alcohol? A nonprofit organization can work with a promoter or an event planner, but they cannot sell the alcohol within the tickets. That is very important because it's the nonprofit that is getting the license, not the promoter. Unfortunately, we see this a lot, especially on the website. It says, you know, buy your tickets includes 2 drinks. We can't do that. The nonprofit is the one that's getting the license. They're the one that needs to sell the alcohol. The promoter can sell the tickets to the event as long as it does not include the alcohol, and then they'll sell it separately. We do have some information on our website and a little more detail about that, but I have to say that is the most common thing we've seen recently, so just keep an eye on that. Can I hold an event outdoors with alcohol? Yes, you can. There are some different things that you have to be cautious of when you are having an outdoor event. You're going to have to include a site map with your application. If you don't submit one, we'll ask you for one. It must be an enclosed beer garden with some criteria such as minimum height of barriers. You're going to need to show where our entrances, accesses, fencing, vendors, where your service bars will be, and such. Our website does have a great frequently asked questions list, and you are also welcome to email special occasions at lcb.wa.gov. That is monitored by our customer service specialists that do process these applications, and they can get back to you with questions. You're free to give me an email, which is my name, sarah.worley@lcb.wa.gov, or also LCB main line is 360-664-1600, and that also gets you direct to customer service, and they can assist you with your event. Oh, and remember, just because they're a liquor and cannabis board, no cannabis at your events. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much, Sarah. Coming up next, we have Carson Brock and Leah Michelson.
Hello, my name is Carson Brock. I use he, him pronouns. I'm working with the City of Tacoma's Environmental Services within our Office of Environmental Policy and Sustainability as an AmeriCorps Sustainability Specialist. My role, I assist in advancing our climate action plan, and then in terms of event planning, I help run the Green Events program and actually planned our 16th South Sound Sustainability Expo this April.
Good morning, or almost afternoon. Yeah, my name is Leah Michelson. I also work with Carson. I'm in the Environmental Services Director's Office. A little bit of a legacy holdover from, I'm now in the Director's Office, but I started with this program when I was with the Sustainability Office. So, but I still work closely with it and work closely with Carson on this program. So I'll let Carson take it away with our first question, and then we'll talk about our program a little bit more.
Yeah, so what does it mean to be a green event? So just a quick overview, this certification program offers services for waste and portable toilet services for events that go above and beyond on making their strive to be more sustainable. That can be a bunch of different things, whether that's encouraging walking or biking to the event, donating excess food, using recycled materials, or just any other like event that promotes some type of sustainability practice. So we've seen a lot of events for like litter and trash pickup or beach cleanup, or even like restoration projects, planting trees, and even some in the past for like salmon release events, which has been super cool to see. And yeah, I can pass it to Leah for the next question.
Yeah, thanks, Carson. Just to piggyback on that question for one moment too, it's like Carson mentioned, that's the benefit, the incentive is getting the resources, but the primary idea behind becoming a green event is that it means that your event is, like Carson said, taking extra steps to be as environmentally friendly, as environmentally sustainable as possible. That's primary, first and foremost. That is the public benefit that we try to promote about the program, and then the stuff that you are eligible to potentially get is secondary. So that's really the spirit behind the Green Events program. Some events that are required to achieve Green Event certification in the city of Tacoma. Most are not, but some are. So who can apply to receive Green Event certification? The events that are required to receive that are those events that have an expected attendance of over 2,000 people and are receiving contributions from the city and take place on city property and provide food or beverage. It's not an or. It's if your event meets all of those qualifications, you're actually required to achieve Green Event certification, and I'll mention more about what that means in a moment. Most events in the city of Tacoma don't meet all of those, but they meet some of them. Any other event is absolutely encouraged to apply. Any event in the city of Tacoma is more than welcome to apply and receive that Green Event certification. It's just that those special few that are large scale and meet those criteria are required to apply. And those details are available on our website. I'd be happy to provide the link later, but those that are smaller scale events or less than 2,000 people are not required to apply. Applying is pretty simple. You go on our website and fill out a fillable form and explain how your event is going to work to be more environmentally friendly and environmentally sustainable. We used to have a very prescriptive checklist of things, and a few years back, we opened up the program a little more broadly to say, we're going to leave it up to you to tell us and explain how your event is going to be more environmentally friendly. That being said, there are, I believe, 5 requirements that you must take, and then there are some that will kind of be more that are more open-ended, that you can explain how your event is going above and beyond. Again, those are detailed on our website. I won't go into too much detail about them, but they are things like eliminating single-use plastic giveaways. So not allowing your event, if you have vendors there, to give away small single-use plastic tchotchkes, plastic water bottles, plastic bags, things like that. Encourage public transportation if your event is in a venue that has that available. So again, all those details on our website. But beyond that, if you're hosting an event, like Carson said, where it's maybe not vendor-based, it's more like a community cleanup, we do have on the application an open-ended question where you can just explain to us how your event is going to be more environmentally friendly if it doesn't meet the criteria of like being, especially vendor-based is a big one that we see. And as Carson mentioned, the big benefits of being a green event, first and foremost, I can't underscore this enough, that the public benefit is just we encourage events to be more environmentally friendly for the sake of our environment, our shared community, our shared spaces. That's primary. But secondary, and the benefit that most event planners are most interested in, and what a lot of people here are probably going to be interested in, is that if you achieve that green event certification, you are eligible to receive sponsored services from environmental services in the form of waste management, garbage, recycling, compost bins or dumpsters, and portable toilets. So that's the secondary benefit of being a green event. What is not part of the green events program? I wanted to put this question in here specifically because I mean, to put it bluntly, it's not a program to get free stuff. We really want to emphasize that. We have received applications in the past where literally the subject of the email or the subject of the application is, here's my application for free portable toilets. And that's not the spirit of the event. That's the secondary. So we really want to emphasize to event planners and those submitting permits for their events that this is not intended to just be a free stuff program. It's really intended to make sure that we are respecting our shared environment and working to be sustainable. So that's not what this is. Specifically, some of the requirements for applying, I touched on those earlier a little bit. But I'll go into a little bit more detail because that's kind of the nuts and bolts of how to apply. You must submit your application for this 30 days in advance. As one of our fellow presenters, I think, mentioned earlier, this is not our only job. This is a small part of our job, processing these applications. I enjoy this part of my job, but it's not the main part of it. So we really ask and are pretty firm and strict about that 30-day in advance application window. 30 days prior to your event, you have to submit it for us to have time to process it and place the order if your event ends up being eligible for green event certification and for those sponsored services. The event must be free and open to the public. That's a big one too. We do not sponsor, I should say the environmental services sponsorship is not available to events that are not free and open to the public. If you have a ticketed event or a paid or private event, and you would like to apply to receive green event certification for marketing purposes, for whatever, if you would like to have that stamp, that seal of approval for your event, you're more than welcome to. But if your event is asking to be eligible to receive those services, those waste management and sanitation services, it absolutely must be free and open to the public. No ticketed events and no private events. And let's see, I touched on the deadline. 30 days in advance and free and open to the public. Carson, am I missing anything there on the requirements for applying?
No, I don't think so. I would add this is something that we see a lot with like food events that have any type of food. When when trying to be more green, we see a lot of like we'll compost and use compostable cups and cutlery and everything like that, which is actually not compostable in our facility, which is, I think, a big misunderstanding. So if you are going to use compost at like a large scale event, like any straw or plate or silverware will not go in the compost. It will go in like the landfill. So I do think that is one thing that we see a lot on the applications is that they're buying, we're going to buy all these things and put it in the compost, but doesn't, and that's not the correct bin. It goes in the landfill. So there's a lot of other weird things with recycling and compost, but I would say that that's one of the biggest too. If you want to add anything to that too, Leah.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to point out, Carson. We would be here all afternoon if you wanted us to talk about the ins and outs of waste management, recycling, and compost. Well, we won't go there today. Certainly, if you have any other questions, you can email us directly about that. But that's a really good one and an important one to bring up, Carson. You're absolutely right. I wasn't exactly following the question list there, but I think I covered everything. I think
You
I'll wrap up
did.
there.
Thank you so much, Carson and Leah. I appreciate the teamwork and all the information as well. So now is the time. We have time for Q&A, and my colleague Jasmine will be taking that on. Are we ready, Jasmine?
Yes, we are. All right, so the first question that we have says, where or who can I speak to about getting insurance for my event in October? And can I get a reference?
So I have a list of potential insurance folks that have provided to nonprofits in the past that we use for a funding program. However, if there are other referrals, it's not guaranteed, and I couldn't tell you how much the cost would be. You can also find single day event insurance. And there are some, I have a sheet or an email that I can send out to you, Miss Benita. If you want to email me, Benita, I know you have my email address and I can get that to you.
Wonderful.
Okay,
Next question.
so the second question is, if the event is a block party style event and the vendors are setting up and vending on their own private party without coordinating with the event, does this require a one-day business license?
I can answer that. If the person at their home is doing.
Jesse, go ahead and use your voice, your
Use my
outside
voice.
voice,
I'm so
your
sorry.
outside voice.
If it's used goods, if it's like a garage sale type of event, and they're selling things that they own themselves, they don't need a business license. If they are participating with retail sales of something else, then the best thing to do would be to coordinate with other people and get that multiple vendors license. Because if they don't have that $5 per day license through like a promoter, then they end up getting a regular business license, which is a $30 license, but then they also need a home occupation license, which is a $75 license. So it's better to coordinate with each other and get that $5 a day license for an event, hands down. It's just better.
Thanks, Jesse.
Okay. If our event lands on what is now Puyallup tribal land, formerly Shenanigans, would we get our permitting for all of it through them or the city, specifically for food and vending?
I might pass it to Ricky and Jesse for this one, just to identify the property that Shenanigans is now on and how that shakes out.
I'm going to use my outdoor voice. I'll just start. So, if you are a tribal member on tribal land, then no. If you are a non-tribal member on if you're a tribal member on non-tribal land, then yes. If you're a non-tribal business operating on tribal land, then yes, you need a business license. And non-tribal business on tribal land performing work for tribal members, then no. So it's complicated, but if you're, chances are you probably will, unless you're a tribal member itself.
Right. Does Ricky have anything to add?
I guess I would just add, I mean, we recognize that the city of Tacoma is located on Puyallup tribal land. And as far as some of the overlap with US trust land and city of Tacoma right of way, when it impacts the right of way that might be adjacent to Puyallup or US trusted land, we coordinate with the impacts of the surrounding area. So we would look at what those impacts would be and how to accommodate that. But specifically with the Shenanigans property, that would be on private property. So there wouldn't be any oversight or requirements that would be imposed on that property itself, like any other property that's private.
Thank you,
And
Ricky.
as far as food permitting goes for the vendors, it is the same as what Jesse just explained. Tribal member on tribal land, no permit from the health department. It will be inspected by the tribe. But non-tribal member on tribal land, or that scenario, then a food permit from us is required.
Wonderful. Thank you, Amanda. Next question.
If the organization uses a GoFundMe account for an event, can that still be considered a 501? And that's not for the purpose of alcohol donations?
Say that not is for the purpose or is for the purpose of alcohol donations?
Not for the purpose.
Was that
I'm gonna deal with
question?
no.
It's
the
a no,
Yeah.
but I wasn't 100% sure if the question was towards us or not. So no, it cannot be used for the alcohol.
I just don't think it's considered a 501c3.
No.
If you use a GoFundMe account, just because you're raising money does not make the organization a 501c3. You still need to apply through the IRS for your 501c ... designation.
Yeah, and you'll usually get a letter that claims that you're a 501c3. It's all written out. You can also go to the EIN IRS tax website and look you up to see if you already have one, as long as you have your EIN number to look it up, or you can look it up by the organization name.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah and Ashley.
Okay, and that's all the questions.
Wonderful. Those were great questions. I appreciate all of our panelists and attendees from taking time out of your busy day to join us and to participate. We really appreciate you all and would love feedback. We really want these skill shops to be geared towards your needs. So please, when we issue a survey, please take the time to fill that out as well. And like I mentioned before, we have upcoming skill shops, and the next one is July 15th on funding and grant writing. And we also have more to come after that as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we will also have the resources available after the skill shop. All right. Panelists, wonderful job. Thank you for your time.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.